Welcome to Life Hair. My name is James Atkinson. Thank you for choosing to join into this week's episode. Now, I've mentioned in previous episodes that it really helps the algorithm if you guys watch as much or if not all of these videos as possible. It's a bit like telling your friends, the more you watch, the more the algorithm distributes these videos to a wider audience. So it would be massively helpful if you guys could watch as much of this episode as you can today. And if you'd like to take your Life of Hair education one step further than these videos, please do go down to the description below and join my Patreon. We do 2 lives a month over there, and we talk about all sorts of other things in much more detail than we do on these. Today we're going to do a little root tap to diffuse our skip slice technique so it looks lovely and blended. I really like chunky techniques. I'm a big chunky technique fan, but I think, done in the right way, they can look great. If you do chunky techniques and then you don't go back in and perfect them with your toning technique, then they're always going to look horrendous. So it is really the emphasis on all of these chunky highlighting techniques are down to making sure that your toning is bang on. Now, I did a video all about toning stripy highlights. I'll be doing another one today, but on very curly hair in a slightly different manner. So hopefully that will give you a bit different insight into a different hair texture. And I think that's the really important thing, is that the repertoire of techniques that most people use on a day-to-day basis isn't that broad, and that's fine. What we do need to remember, though, is that on each hair type, each technique will look slightly different, and we'll do it slightly different each time. So if we're making a living as a commercial hairdresser, it's absolutely fine to keep repeating ourselves, because we're just making a living. We're not trying to be creative necessarily. You can if you want, of course. But the reality of commercial hairdressing is that on a day-to-day basis, we're probably doing the same 5, 6, 7 hair colours over and over again. We're probably only repeating ourselves with 3 or 4 different hair cuts. And I think as we go into what will be my new digital academy, we're really going to emphasise the simplicity of just taking a very structured approach to the techniques that we use and how that can really optimise our days. Okay, so back from the Bession, and here we have our beautiful stripy highlights. So if we comb this into dead flat, you can see it's really stripy. So what we're going to do now is come in and diffuse this root area. We will put some toner onto the blonde. We are going to keep it on a level 9, so we can do it brighter than we did it last time. And this is what I was saying about bringing the lightener up higher than we want our root stretch to be, because now we've got an area where we can overlap our root colour by about 1 inch, and we can diffuse it down. So that gives you a good idea of what I meant by bringing it up higher than you wanted it to be in the first place. I'm going to use a level 4 natural to just match Kylie's natural colour, basically, as I stretch it down. So really simple technique. Keep your brush pretty clean for this one. Just dip it in the brush, come in and just eke the product about 1 inch or so, maybe a bit less than that, over the root area there. That's a really kind of useful thing to remember as you go through, because I think sometimes if you don't quite meet or get it far enough down the hair, then you end up not with the result that you wanted to. So definitely make sure. That is one of the vital things. If you take anything away from this particular technique, that is one of the ones that I'd recommend thinking about, is get that product close enough to the roots that you can easily drag the product over the area where you want to transition the colour. As we work through this technique now, we're not necessarily kind of looking to go down to the parietal ridge. We're just utilising the colour as our marker to where we paint down to. We want to come over the point at which the colour starts by about 1 centimetre or 1 inch. For those, I know that 1 centimetre and 1 inch are not the same things, but if it's 1 inch on one section and 1 centimetre on another, or half an inch or whatever, whichever old money, new money you talk in your country, it doesn't really make any difference either way. We just want to make sure that we dab it on the root and we just push it up into the colour at the root area there. So really simple technique, but I think one that everybody needs to know how to do really well these days. It's become a vital technique in modern hairdressing terms, and one that you have to become very proficient. And I think understanding the difference between a tap, a stretch, and a root shadow or root smudge is quite important too. And I don't think that everybody is that clear on what defines each of these techniques. But I think it is really important to get clear on what defines these techniques and why. And I'd highly recommend it if you're not sure, to do your homework. I have got a video, but only on my Patreon platform, where we define the 3 techniques as separate entities. So I won't be making that video for my YouTube channel, unfortunately, but maybe there is another video out there that you could watch for free, or you could join up to my Patreon, which is not wildly expensive, but and it's actually really probably worth joining up right now, because I'm just about to launch the new platform, and if you join the Patreon platform at the moment, you'll get a discounted price for the new platform. So definitely worth getting involved sooner rather than later. You can see in the back here how stripy and strong these pieces are, but what this will create when the hair's natural and curly and in its natural form, which Curly Kylie wears her hair quite big, you know, she's going to get some wonderful definition on her curls because we've managed to put in these chunkier pieces, where if we did it too fine, it would just look like a haze of colour going through her hair. And I didn't want to turn her blonde today. That wasn't the idea today. It was about giving her more lightness, more blonde. She could probably add to it at some stage, more pieces of blonde. I kind of feel like that might be the way we go. Although we said in the beginning of this video that she might end up, you know, turning it red at some stage. We don't know. We'll see. Kylie doesn't know what she wants with her hair, I don't think. She just wants an experiment, you know, an experimental moment. Right then, so on with the end colour, super simple, same sectioning pattern. You can take pretty large sections when you do this. Just paint to the point at which you stop painting the root colour and saturate through the ends. Saturation's king with all hair colours. The better we saturate it, the better the end results will be. This is 10N and 9 natural beige for the toner here. So we're just going to work that through each of the sections. I won't bore you with a tint application, just wanted to give you the heads up as to exactly what we're doing here. But I mean, the putting that root colour on already has softened those really strong stripy effects that we created from the highlights. But we've got that beautiful heavy definition, separation and contrast through the ends. So it's going to work out really nicely. So I'll join you when it's all done. Okay, and there we have the finished result. Toned it with the level 9, level 10 combination just so that it didn't sink down. One thing you've got to bear in mind is when you're colouring hair that's very curly like this, it's very porous, toners can sink down quite quickly. So it's always good to stand and observe them and make sure that they don't drop down to brown, or, you know, you lose all that lovely colour that you just put in the hair. But Kylie's got such amazing hair that you know, we really wanted to emphasize the texture of her hair with the color, and that's why we used that big weave technique. And then going back in terms of the toner, doing that root tap, it just changed it. You know, as soon as you put the root tap on, you know, it made such a big difference to the way that the colour looked at the root area. Obviously it looked so stripy previously, and that's just really softened and diffused. Now this toner at the roots will fade a little bit. Remember, all colour fades, and you'll see a little bit more of the lightness appear through there. But I think that'll be a really good thing as time goes on. But yeah, super pleased with the result. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you've enjoyed it, please do hit the thumbs up button, subscribe if you're new here, and don't forget there's new. Yeah, you always wanted to do that.
Give it a thumbs up.
You've definitely got to do it now. Kylie's done that. And and I'll see you again for another episode very, very soon.
Just date capture video.
That's all right. I'll keep that.